Hey badasses, and welcome back to the Badass Careers YouTube channel. Today I'm super excited to be talking about how to format your resume or your CV for success. Now, the format of your resume is often extremely underrated, but first impressions count, and humans are very much visual beings. So while content is king and what you say and the words you use within your resume are going to always be the most important, format is just as important. The format helps you to come across as extremely well put together. It helps to elevate your professional brand, and it gets decision makers and recruiters to sit up and pay attention straight away. It's almost a taster of the level of excellence that you can put into presenting your work and communicating something. And also, whether it's you sending it out to your network or applying online, we want you to feel confident about this document. We want you to feel amazing when you're sending it in. So if the content's amazing and it's looking sharp and sleek, that's absolutely the result that you're gonna get. So we're gonna talk about things like length, like photo, no photo, like should I use color, all of this kind of thing. We're gonna talk about the actual order of events on the document, everything that you need to know with loads of concrete examples as to how to format your resume so it makes the biggest impact. And so it gets past the applicant tracking system too, the ATS. Now, just before we jump in, if you need a resume right now, if you're actively looking for a role or you know that you're going to be shortly, I would absolutely love to invite you to my free 1-hour resume masterclass, which is called 5 Keys to Badass Your Resume so that you can land more and better quality job offers. And that's exactly what it helps you to do. It's completely free. It's some of my best tips and tricks in one place. You can sign up for it in my description box down below. Definitely go and check that out. It is going to boost you ahead in your job search. But otherwise, absolutely stick around for some specific tips on the formatting of this marketing pitch of yours. And without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Okay, so I'm going to be showing you guys a lot of examples in this video, and I know this question is going to come up. Hey, how come you're using 2 columns? I thought the ATS, the applicant tracking system, couldn't read columns. Hey, why are you using a PDF? Can't we only use Word documents when we're applying because of the applicant tracking system? Now, I have done a whole video on some tips and tricks around getting past the applicant tracking system. But believe me when I say, and I have worked for big Fortune 500 companies using applicant tracking systems, I have spoke to many recruiters around me who use them as well. There's so much fear-mongering about the applicant tracking system, and it's often used by frustrated job seekers as potentially a reason or a scapegoat for why things aren't going their way. And I know that might sound harsh, but I feel on one side you've got career coaches who are giving outdated advice and they're saying that the applicant tracking system's the reason that your resume is not getting through. And honestly, an applicant tracking system, 90% of the time, it's just a project management software that helps recruiters to walk your application through the different stages of the process. If there's anything automatically rejecting you, it's usually the application form that you fill out. Most people don't realize that that information is the applicant tracking system. Yes, scanning your resume and your CV is part of the game, but actually if you're saying that you don't have the right to work, or if you put in your salary expectation that's way out from the salary expectation of this role or whatever, that is automatically rejecting you. It hasn't even read your CV or resume. Plus, companies really don't want to lose top talent. Like, if you were going to be the most outstanding candidate applying, they want to know about it. I know that things are really competitive right now, but having the top, most talented applicant and getting them in, like the right person in the right place, is still a company's #1 objective, and they're not trying to trick you. Again, if there was some sort of rule like you can't upload a PDF, or please don't upload a document with 2 columns because we won't be able to review your application, they'll tell you about it. And have you ever seen that anywhere? You know, the ATS doesn't have a font preference. As long as it's readable, it's fine, as long as it's not like script font. Keywords will boost your application, but it's not the only thing, and it doesn't matter if not all of them are present within your application. And it's not reading and rejecting your resume alone automatically. Honestly, when you're job hunting, it's always important to design a resume that's going to be read by a human, so sleek, good looking, easy to read anyway, but just know that the ATS isn't as big a deal as you think it is. And if it's going to read or pass your resume and spit it out, usually it does that, have you seen those text boxes where it spits it out and you have the opportunity to clean it up? So it will actually give you the opportunity to fix anything if they do indeed use that feature, which, to be honest, not a lot of companies really do. Because again, they don't want to lose top talent. They want to be able to review all applications and the really good applications. So if you are getting rejected, it's usually a human that's doing so, not a robot. So now that you know that, let's jump in here with a range of examples that have landed my clients opportunities at Adidas, at Facebook, at Christian Dior Couture, at big companies that absolutely have applicant tracking systems. Okay, so the length. What length should your resume be? 1 pages, 2 pages, 5 pages, unicorns, who knows? The answer is it doesn't matter as much as you think it does. If you have a 2-page resume, but it's full of fluff and cliches and information that's nice to know about you, but it's not actually targeted, strategic, in line with the job post, then it's a waste of space. If you have a 1-page resume, but it is like one of those pretty Etsy templates that's just sort of like a few headings and a few key points and actually really light on the content, or it's so crammed with size 8 font because you try to put everything onto 1 page, like that's gonna hurt your chances as well. So you don't wanna do that either. It really depends on what you strategically need to put within this document to convince them. Again, it's the teaser trailer, not the feature film. The feature film is you in the interview, but it's what you need to put in there to convince them to give you an interview. So you want to put a decent amount of information, but every single line that recruiter skims, it should make them think, oh, that's great for this role. Just remember, this is a pitch document and it's highly tailored, so you should be able to keep it relatively succinct while still being powerful and impactful. Now, as a general guide, this is the rule of thumb that I use across most countries and it works like a charm. So if you have less than 5 years of professional experience post-graduation, if you have less than 5 years of professional experience, you can absolutely get your resume or CV, however you call it in your country, down to 1 page. Less than 5 years, 1 page. Less than 10 years, 1 to 2 pages. 10 to 15 years, 2 pages. 15 to 20 years, we're more up at 2 to 3 pages, sometimes 2 to 4. And for 20 plus years experience, I would say generally 3 to 5 pages. Next point, photo or no photo? So this really depends. Again, I know that's a frustrating answer, but hear me out. So what's the norm? What's the thing that's usually done within your country? Because there's usually a reason. So I know that in a lot of Anglo-Saxon countries, so the UK, the US, New Zealand, we wouldn't put a photo because we've got a huge, culturally and institutionally, a focus on anti-bias, anti-discrimination. It can even be illegal in some states to review a resume with a photo because of anti-discrimination laws. And if you reject the person or if the person gets the job, like either way you can't really win. So sometimes if they see a photo, it either gets removed by software or they just don't consider it whatsoever. So if the norm is not to put a photo, don't put a photo. In some countries, like France, for example, you must put a photo. Whether you're going for a master's application, whether you're going for a job application, you put a photo because that's the norm of the country and it would be very sort of bizarre if you didn't. Now, I know that this seems a bit strange, especially in the modern era, right? I mean, a recruiter will Google you and they can find out what you look like on LinkedIn, right? By the way, make sure that you've got a really nice LinkedIn profile photo, but still no photo if the norm in your country is no photo. Now, if you're in a country where it can kind of go either way, so some countries like Switzerland, for example, can go either way. What I would say is better safe than sorry. So you could use a photo if it feels more industry appropriate, like if you're going for a creative marketing agency or if you're going for a digital marketing role in social media for a cool new startup, like that kind of thing, then yeah, a photo is probably fine, more appropriate, could really add some pizzazz to your document. But otherwise, you can have very impactful awesome resumes with no photo, of course, whatsoever. Now, in terms of the layout, you should always use a standard chronological resume layout. I know you probably have heard about functional resumes and competency-based resumes and stuff like that. We just want to keep it simple and easy for the recruiter to get the information that they need very quickly. So what are some must-have components? So you absolutely must, in my opinion, have a profile or a summary section. Now, for me, this is about 3 sentences or 3 bullet points that really quickly highlight you in a nutshell. It's your professional brand. It's who you are, what you do, and how you do it differently, backed up with an accomplishment point wherever possible, and your vision for your career. Where are you going and how does this role fit into that? This area is one of the most strategic areas on your resume, and it really allows recruiters to connect the dots very, very quickly. You basically sum up in a nutshell why you for this role. What I also like to do is underneath the profile area is put strategic key words that sum up your zones of genius. Basically, if you were tagged as a person professionally, what would your tags be? These are your top skills, and they also help with the ATS, the applicant tracking side of things, and they very quickly, again in a nutshell, help the recruiter understand who you are, what you have to offer. On this note of professional brand, I'm also a big fan of having a compelling tagline underneath your name at the top of your resume. So this is a must-have for me. It's very signature rosy, like all of my clients' resumes have this, and it's putting your USP, your unique selling proposition, into a sentence. So for example, here we have on a mission to grow social impact through engaging community experiences. This is someone going for a community manager role for a social enterprise. Now, if we take this example that I'm showing on screen, it's an example of it all coming together. You've got the compelling tagline underneath the name, you've got the profile section and the keywords under that profile section that bring it all together. So in the upper third, it is very clear that you are self-aware, you know who you are, you know what you're good at, and you know where you're going. The next major area that you really want to be front and center on your resume is your experience section. So this, if you're doing a 1-column layout, this is what comes next. If you're doing a 2-column, you give it the most real estate. It's usually all down the right-hand side, while the other details are kind of on the left-hand column. Like, it's very much front and center. Now, there are 2 exceptions to this. Firstly, if you're a fresh graduate with no professional work experience, just say you've only done internships and bits and pieces, I would put your education first. So education, then experience. If you are a working professional and you have already graduated and you've already been in the workforce for at least a year, I would absolutely have the experience come first. The other exception to this rule is career changes. Now, with career changes in the example that's on the screen right now, I would start off, for example, with the profile section, and then you would go into an area that highlights your core strengths or your key skills, the transferable skills that you can bring with you as a person from one industry to the next, that is going to enable your success within your next role, your next profession, your next industry, even if you've never done it before. So that upper third might be a little bit longer. You might end up taking almost half the page just to explain your profile and just to highlight some of your key competencies that you are bringing to the table before you get to your experience section. Because what's going to be important is who you are, not exactly what you've done, because you've never actually done the role that you're applying for. Now, of course, a must-have on every resume is an education section, the highest level of education. Get high schools and stuff off there if you have graduated with a degree for sure. And then every resume, in my opinion, needs to have technical skills as well. The kind of skills that highlight what you've already learned how to do so far, even if it's just to show that you're capable of learning new skills and software quickly. Technical skills, usually it's software and things that can be trained, right? So don't worry if you don't have 100% of what the job ad is requiring. In fact, you could even claim that you have it and quickly do an online course just to get the fundamentals. Like, this stuff can be learned, this stuff can be trained, but I do think it's important as well for the applicant tracking system that a technical skills or a key skills kind of area is here in addition to any kind of behavioral competencies that you do want to highlight. Now, for the rest of the format, what goes in, what goes out, it really is going to depend what kind of role you're going for. If we take this example of someone who is a recent graduate who just landed an amazing opportunity with Christian Dior Couture, so they had very little professional experience as such. And so what we've done here to fill out the layout of their resume is that we have added sort of kind words or generous words, which are essentially a quote from maybe a recommendation letter or a LinkedIn recommendation. It's basically an inbuilt testimonial. We also brought out their interests, and again, this is all themed for Christian Dior Couture, which is why it's called Threads of Interest. We brought out personal projects and volunteer, so this is more on-campus activities and clubs and associations. We brought out languages. We could have also brought out accolades. You get the point. It will really depend on the role you're going for and how much space you still want to fill up and which parts of you would strategically shift the dial for the audience you have in front of you. Now, if we're talking about how do we get it to look so good, how are your resumes so good looking, I use a free tool called Canva. If you simply go to canva.com and you search for resume, it will come up with many templates. One warning that I would use is that these have been made by designers, not human resources professionals, let me tell you. And so most of the time, the design is pretty, but the content or the size of font or the amount of text they suggest you put on the page is really off. So remember, the content is king. Make sure that you have all of the content that you strategically want to put on this document first and foremost, and then choose the format that will bring it all to life. Another strategic hack here that I wanted to mention is that you can actually brand match your resume so it looks like the company that you want to go for. And this is especially cool for like more modern, startups, agencies, maybe like beauty and fashion where aesthetics are important, that kind of thing. And so just showing you a few examples here. So a brand match to Mesa, which is a beauty company, a brand match to Chewy, which is around pet supplies, brand match very sleek and minimalist to Chanel, by the way, which landed not one, but 3 interviews at Chanel, and this fun, colorful one that was matched to MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art, and this landed her the role. So 2 tools that you can use to do this kind of thing. One is an extension called Colorzilla, which allows you to use an eyedropper tool to get the exact colors off the logo or off the brand website. And 2 is Font Ninja. It will tell you the font that they use for the headings, for example, on their website, or we picked out what the exact font was for Chanel. And we are able to then download that font, upload it into Canva, and use it on the resume strategically. So I hope this video training has really helped you to get some information and inspiration around all things resume formatting. If you have any questions whatsoever, you know where to find me. Come and send me a DM over on Instagram. Let me know in the comments section down below. I'll definitely read and respond to all of those. And otherwise, for the big picture and some of my best, juiciest tips and tricks on crafting your resume, the kind of resume that's gonna land you multiple job offers, definitely check out my free masterclass at www.badasscareers.com/badassmasterclass. Again, the link is in the description down below. I can't wait to see you sign up. And otherwise, stay badass, and I'll see you here next time on the Badass Careers YouTube channel. Bye!